Hey guys, it's Seb Sim again. I know it's been about a week since I did a video, but I've been having a software issue. I wanted to go and be able to make better looking videos. I wanted to make them look more professional, cleaner, frankly, so that I can make my points better, so that you can understand me better, so that you can understand what my purpose is, what I'm saying, what I'm doing. It's all part of that communication thing that this whole series is about. It seems like I should definitely try to improve what I'm doing, especially if I'm going to discuss the topic seriously. As I've said, we're talking about communication. And we've talked about verbal and nonverbal, we've talked about rhetoric, and we've talked about logic, right? All three of those things, I said, is the foundation for how to communicate effectively, and how you use each one is, of course, a different level of interest for each thing, right? You may not use the same communication styling for every point that you make. My purpose in these videos is not going to be to influence your decision. I don't want to influence your decision. I want you to make your own decisions based off of real information. My goal in these videos is going to be to discuss topics from an angle that I haven't seen them discussed before, which is exactly what I've said it is. The rhetoric, the logic, looking at the styling that each person uses and say, they done this right, they could have done that better, that's why it worked, that's why it didn't. Plain and simple, cut and dry, that's all I'm going for. If you are looking for me to try to influence your political opinions, you have come to the wrong place. That's not what I'm doing. I want to make people more informed about what other people are doing as they listen to them speak, because that helps you to understand and decipher the code that people speak through. And everybody knows that people speak in code, especially if you're a politician. Just saying, whether they was a billionaire businessman before they became the president or not, that's beside the point. So this clip that I'm about to show you comes from yesterday, on the 13th day of April 2020, Trump and the Coronavirus Task Force. It may not be what you expect, but I wanted to stick to something simple, especially for my first real video that I'm going to edit, and do it like that because I want to be able to do it right, and I want to stick with what I know the best. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States of America.
Think of that. Now, we're supposed to close down the country, but here's what happened. When on January 31st, I instituted the ban, Joe Biden went crazy. He said, you don't need the ban. He didn't go crazy. Like, he didn't even know what the hell the ban was. But so he didn't go crazy. But he did say, he did call me xenophobic. Wait a minute. He called me xenophobic. He called me a racist because he has since apologized and he said I did the right thing. So when you say, why didn't you this? Every Democrat thought I made a mistake when I did it. I saved tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of lives by putting it.
That you bought, the argument is that you bought yourself some time. You didn't use it to prepare hospitals. You didn't use it to ramp up testing. Right now, nearly 20 million
you're so
people
disgraceful.
are unemployed.
It's so disgraceful the way you said it. Let me just listen. I just went over it.
Democrat says what? Okay, so Trump here has exercised this thing that we've been talking about called rhetoric. You know, he didn't use any logic right here. He did in other places in the video. That just isn't what I'm focusing on for this one. What I'm focusing in on this one is, what was that emotional connection of rhetoric? Pathos. Pathos is what Trump is using here. What did he do? As soon as he got backed into this political corner, he had to answer something everyone knows, whether they know the term or not. And if you don't, Google it. It's all it really means is somebody who talks online and stirs up trouble. But Trump is known as an internet troll, especially on Twitter. He even does it in his broadcasts and things. I think this is a good example of it here. So, what happened? She asks him a question, right? And he immediately goes to Biden. Why Biden? Why Biden? Well, Biden's the person who's about to be running against him, right? More than likely, in a few months, the final election, one of the two is going to very likely win, either Biden or Trump. It's reasonable to conclude. Sanders dropped out. Really, he was the major nominee prior to dropping out, other than Biden. So, this is what we have. He says that Biden called him a xenophobe and a racist. Now, a few years ago, I guarantee you most people couldn't have told you what a xenophobe is. It's funny because Trump, at a different part in the video, actually goes on to say that Biden didn't know what a xenophobe was. He asked him the definition and said, Biden couldn't even tell me what it meant. So, what he's doing here is establishing an emotional connection. He's establishing pathos. He's establishing an emotional connection with who? Who does he want to connect to emotionally right here? He's connecting with Republicans who agree with him. What do they agree with him on? Democrats insult people. Plain and simple. That's what it comes down to, really. Republicans say, okay, well, we can insult people if we want to because the Democrats do it. And the Democrats say, we can insult people if we want to, right? Because the Republicans do it. Okay, don't get me wrong. I understand the reasonable logic here. But maybe, just maybe, that's something you learned before junior high. And maybe that shouldn't be something that you use as an actual case in point. But, as I've said, every part of rhetoric is essential to getting different types of viewers, different types of support, and it is more effective on some people than it is others. Every part of rhetoric is. So he says Biden, calls him a xenophobe and a racist, right? And then as soon as he does it, he even said that Biden didn't, quote, he didn't know what the hell he was talking about with the ban and everything. But he says Biden called me a racist. Biden called me a xenophobe. Why are those words significant? Because those are the big hot trigger words that have been used repeatedly on especially the Democrat side of things. It's like every time that something comes up in politics, you always hear racist, you always hear xenophobe, you always hear homophobic, you always hear transphobic, you always hear these words. And so naturally, in order to establish pathos with a group of Republicans who already support him, but now he establishes more emotional density within the party to give him support, he says, he calls me xenophobic, he calls me racist. He goes on later to say, well, the man did apologize to me. And he even said, oh, I was wrong. He didn't go crazy. He didn't go crazy because he didn't know what he was talking about. That's not an apology. But you know what it is? It's a pathos argument. It makes people who are already more inclined to agree with you if you happen to be a Republican president. it makes these people a lot more likely to hear you and say, he's right. The man did call him, and he even apologized. And he even recognized that Biden apologized to him. Now, he recognized that Biden didn't know what the hell he was talking about. That was his words. Emotional connection is important. So, why does it work? It works because of something that I talk about a lot because I'm a big believer in it. Confirmation bias. People are more likely to believe something if they already believe it. You are more likely to listen to an argument that somebody is presenting that you already agree with and say, yes, 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 I get that. That makes sense. You're more likely to do that than you are to listen to an argument and then immediately change what you believe based off of new information, which interestingly enough is the definition of intelligence. Intelligence means that you have the ability to acquire new information and adapt to it. Most people, no matter how intelligent they are, will always be affected by confirmation bias, especially when it affects your psyche, especially when it affects your emotions, when it makes you feel something. So, that's all I have for today. To be honest, this in a great part was my first video of the new style. Tell me what you think. I would very much like to know, is there something that I can do to make these videos better? Is there a topic that you would like me to discuss? Is there a specific speech that you was like, I liked it or I didn't like it, whatever. But there's something interesting about it. Could you tear it apart for me a little bit? Because I do that. I enjoy it. Tell me what you think. Click that subscribe button. Click that like button on this video. Comment to me. Tell me what you think. If you communicate with me, I will always communicate with you. Both in these videos and in the comments. Go down there and click the more button. I have a PayPal account link to this. Just do the thing. Please support me. It's my only source of income right now. Thank you so much for your views. And I'm SubSim. I'm logging out. Have a good night.